could risk it all. We'll fight until we
Hey guys, so today I'm here with Charlie, my gorgeous model. I'm sure you've all seen her before. And today we're here at the BPerfect offices to really just show you guys the best way of using Sub-Zero and kind of just how you can use it in so many different ways. When we created it, we really wanted it to be really versatile, whether it's versatile in shade or versatile in purpose. So you can use it eyes, face, lips, body, but again, you can use it on any skin tone as well because there's so many shades in there. So I think that was my main thing when BPerfect asked if I wanted to do a palette. And I think we did a pretty good job of it. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it today. I'm just going to start off with a little bit of shadow. Of course, we're going to be using Stacey Marie, because what else would we use? And I'm gonna take a little bit of Rowdy. I'm just gonna take this right through the crease. I don't want my shadow to be too sort of crazy today. Just a nice brown smoke. Gonna take it straight through the crease. I'm not gonna blend it out too much just yet because I'm gonna take a little bit of basic to soften the edges in a second. And notice that this is going straight on top of a wet base. And when I actually come to applying my highlighter as well, I do the exact same thing. So I don't really powder the areas that I'm going to put my highlighter on. That way it really can adhere to the skin and get the most wet looking look as possible, because that's the vibe I always like to go for. Just obsessed with wet looking skin. So into today's look, I'm going to be doing almost like a brown smoke with the shadow, and then I'm going to be doing almost like a purple liner with a bit of one of the highlighters over the top, just because that's such a unique way of using it, and it's such an easy way to create a really fun look as well. And it's also really fun, especially in time for Christmas and all your Christmas parties. Very festive. And I think one thing that I've sort of learned with BPerfect products, whether that's Carnival or Sub-Zero, is every product that I've used, you don't need to use a lot of pressure because there's so much pigment in the products. And I always find sometimes if you add too much pressure, that's when you can struggle to blend it out. So really just be really light-handed with your brush, whether that's applying your highlighter or applying your eyeshadow. I think it's really important to really focus on the pressure you're applying. Okay, so to soften that edge, I'm just going to clean off my brush. And I'm just going to take a little bit of basic. This is probably one of my favourite kind of neutral browns. It's so pretty. It goes so well with most eye looks. Just going to take that just around the edges of Rowdy. I'm just going to go one more time back in with Rowdy just to build that back up, just to keep that depth in the crease. And then I'll move on. This look, because there's not much shadow to it, you can actually do it really quickly. So it's a really simple look, but it's really effective. It's not too much of a hard look. Straight ahead. So on the lid, I'm going to come to Sub-Zero. And I'm going to use a shade that I feel like people haven't really been using much. And maybe it's because people don't know how to use it. I'm going to start off with Body Yaddy Yaddy. And it's a really beautiful chocolatey bronze. It's so, so pretty. And again, this is so pretty all over the body yaddy yaddy. And it's also stunning on the eyes as well. Or if you're on a darker skin tone, it's a really beautiful highlight as well. So, let me take a flat brush. And I'm going to be taking this all over the lid. And I feel like these highlighters, when they're in the pan, they look a lot darker than what they do when you actually get them on the eye. So sometimes I feel like they can almost be a little bit misleading in the pan, but once you get them on the skin, they always lighten up a little bit. Especially Lifestyle, I find that people think Lifestyle is really dark. Because these are just so creamy, they just layer so well. So they never dry the eye out. You can never really get cakey because they are so creamy. So you can build this up to the intensity that you want, that you're going for. If you just want a wash of a shine, just don't use as much. But as you probably know, I'm a bit extra, so I'm going to apply quite a lot. And I'm going to go back into basic. And just really soften around the edges near the front. Good. And then in the inner corner of the eye, I'm going to take OTT. And this is a really unique product in itself. The colour is like just my favourite kind of gold ever. But it's also a really unique product as in this, when we created it, we didn't really see anything like it on the market. It's called OTT for a reason. Obviously it's very over the top, but it's also meant to be used over the top of things. So if you really just apply it in a really small amount of product over the top of one of the other highlighters, you're going to get like a really, really blinding look. So in this case, just before I actually put it on the skin, I'm going to take it on the eyes. I'm going to put this on the inner corner. And this will give you literally the most blinding inner corner ever. And if it doesn't, sue me, because I promise you it will. I'm going to really take this on a nice pencil brush and really just pat and pull this down. Straight. And this product is a little bit more, there's a lot more texture to it than some of the other highlighters in the palette. So it does need to be used in a very specific way, or else you're almost going to spread it out a little bit too much. This is meant to be concentrated in small areas, like the inner corner and like the very tip of the cheekbone. So that's why I prefer to use a smaller brush for this. And again, because I'm applying this straight on top of a wet base, I'm not getting any fallout from it because the product is being grabbed by the base. So I think that's a really important thing as well. And again, whether that's your shadow or your highlighter, try and keep the base of it a little bit more wet. Straight ahead. Just going to pull it up towards the crease. This is really going to open her eyes up. And when she takes flash pictures, it's just going to pop so much more. And once you've laid it up, little bit, by the way, I'm not layering it up in thick amounts of product. You almost get like a almost quite foiled effect, especially if you really press it in. Straight ahead. It's almost as if you put like a little gem in the inner corner. So again, I'm going to take our blending brush and really just soften the edges together. And then I'm going to take it a little bit into the centre of the actual lid as well. Just to show you what it looks like over the top of Body Yaddy Yaddy. Right in that very centre, almost like a little circle. Just makes it pop a little bit more. Almost makes the it gives the eye a little bit more dimension. I'll be honest, if you've got a lighter skin tone, I probably wouldn't recommend applying this. So say if you're like in MAC NC20 downwards, it probably wouldn't necessarily work on your skin tone, but it works on the eyes or the lips, just not necessarily on the skin. But I made this to be more for on like a tan skin tone or darker. Just because it really pops on that skin tone a little bit more. Straight ahead. Oof. So I'm just going to take one more bit around it, just on the outer corner, just before we go in with our liner. So, for my liner, I'm going to be using a Jeffree Star product, and I love this formula for when I'm layering up highlighter over the top of it because it's not a thick formula. Whereas, because if I had a thick formula liquid lipstick and then I was to put highlight over the top, sometimes it can crumble off, but with this formula it doesn't. So this is why I enjoy using this one. And this is in the shade I'm Royalty by Jeffree Star. So I'm just going to leave that liquid lip just on the back of my hand for a few minutes, just to get nice and tacky. I always find these apply better tacky when they're a little bit more, when they're a little bit drier rather than when they're wet. So I'm going to take a really good angle brush. If you're looking for a really good angle brush, especially when you're doing this technique, the Sigma E65 brush is a really good brush to use. And the reason that I'm saying other brands with other products as well as Sub-Zero and Carnival is because I've made this palette for it to work with certain products. So I really want you guys to get the best out of the product. So that's why I'm letting you know. So some brushes and some products just work really well together. And that's what I've found with this palette. So I'm going to start by just tapping I'm Royalty onto the lid. Almost just imagine this as like a black gel liner. And we're just going to be doing a traditional liner, but just in purple. Just because when we put over purple, it looks so, so nice. And I love this purple with the Stacey Marie shadows as well because they almost have a really similar kind of undertone. So they just really melt together really easily. It's a really cohesive look. Look straight ahead. And also using a purple really brings out the green in her eye as well, which I'm all about. And if you don't actually have this, you could just use a black gel liner and it'd still be really cool. So notice I let it sort of dry on the back of my hand for a few minutes, and that just allows the product to thicken up a little bit so you get a bit more of an opaque finish when you're actually applying it over the shimmer. This is just going to stop that shimmer from coming from underneath. You just really want to take your time when you're first applying this base of the liner because this is really going to help us get the actual highlight application a lot more perfect. So just really take your time with this step, and then everything afterwards will be just really easy. So when we did the Sub-Zero shoot, I actually did this technique on, I think it was Ariana. We did the liner again, but on her I did a bit more of like a smudged out liner. So say if you're not really confident in doing a really sharp line, what you can do is just smudge it out and then apply the shadow straight over the top of it. And it creates a really cool look as well. So say if you've not got that wing liner down to a T, just smudge it out and it'll still look so cool. So I'm going to come from the edge of her lower lash line now. And just pull this up towards the tail of the brow. I'm just tapping that in just so it almost sets it in place for us. So then when we do go over with our shadow, with our highlighter, So then when we do go over with our highlighter, it just sets it in place a little bit more. Doesn't stay wet. So now for the fun part, I'm going to be taking Sub-Zero again, my baby. And I'm going to be taking For anyone that didn't know, it's named after myself, Mitchell, MMMMitchell. So I'm going to start in the centre. Just going to start tapping that in. And what I love the most about the pink and the blue in this palette, so in Blankets and is it does have a little bit of like almost like a glitter fleck to it. So it just catches the light really beautifully. And I think probably my favourite thing about this palette is not every highlighter is the same in formula. There's different aspects to each highlighter, which allows you to create a really unique look with each shade. And I'm not going to take this all the way across, I'm just going to keep it in the centre and then blend it out, and it's just going to give us a really unique sort of look to the liner, and it's also going to really give us a lot of dimension to the lid. It'll just make that centre pop loads. And I'm doing this, I'm trying to do as much as I can here, just so I can show you as many looks as possible. But if you didn't want to do the liner and you wanted to do just the lid, you could do that, and either like vice versa, you could just do the liner without the shadow as well. That'd also look really, really cool. So I'm just applying a little bit of moisturiser just to make the face a little bit more sort of like easy to blend on top of, just because the skin's a little bit dry. And I'm going to be using a little bit of Body Yaddy Yaddy on an angled brush like this. And I'm going to be taking this almost like around the edges of the face. Almost imagining this as like an illuminator to put underneath your foundation. Again, because they're so creamy, you can really use them in any way you want. I'm using a really big brush like this just to really distribute the product really evenly. And I'm really buffing it in. And this really shines through, especially once you've got your foundation on. And because it's a powder, it's just going to last so long as well. It's not like it's an illuminator that's going to make your skin really slippy. So say if you've got oily skin and you like really glowy skin, this is a really good technique to use because you're basically setting the skin with highlighter. And the good thing about this step is it doesn't need to be sort of too perfectly blended because you're going to be putting foundation over the top of it. It's just about the areas that you're applying it. So we're using some foundation, a little bit of NARS. And she's having a really good skin day, to be fair, so we don't need to use too much foundation. But I always do recommend having something on the skin before you're putting your highlighter on, just so that it's got something to stick on top of. So I'm going to start in the centre of the face and just start tapping this into the skin. And because we're just tapping it over the top of where we put that body yada yada, it's not going to swipe like move around. It's going to all stay in place for us, so we don't get a shine all over the face. We just want to really concentrate that in certain areas. And if you like going on holiday, this technique of putting the body yada yada all around your face, like especially around the perimeter, is just such a nice effect. And the reason I'm using a concealer that is almost matching her skin tone is because it's just going to make my highlight pop even more. Sometimes I find if you go too light with your concealer and then you apply your highlighter, your highlighter almost blends in with the concealer. So it's really good to have quite a dark base to then allow your highlight to really pop. Gives more contrast. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little bit of translucent powder next. And it's really important that you don't set all over the skin. I really rarely set the full face. I really just take a tiny bit of translucent powder and set underneath the eyes and maybe a little bit on the chin if I'm working on someone that's a bit more oily. But today I'm just going to really just set maybe a little bit on top of the lip and just underneath the eyes for Charlie, because Charlie does have a drier skin, so we don't really need to overset the face. And again, this is really going to improve the application of Sub-Zero. I'm going to use a traditional bronzer and I'm going to mix this with Body Yada Yada. So I'm just dipping into the both of them. If you didn't want to go too glowy, I'd probably just just use your average bronzer, but I want to go really glowy for this video, so I'm mixing the two together. And I always love to bring it right into the apples of the cheeks, because I always find, especially in pictures, that's where it can pop the most. So don't be afraid to really show it there. And it's just so satisfying to see a head just move, because you can just see the glow move with the head. It's just my favourite thing ever. Whenever I do like my one-to-ones back at home, I'm just like, this, just so I can see the glow. And as well, guys, really think about the lighting that you're in when you're applying Sub-Zero, or even any highlighter in that fact. Just really think about the lighting that you've got around you. Good lighting is everything. And if you've got bad lighting, basically Sub-Zero's got nothing to reflect off, so you won't be able to see it. So we need to have lighting around us for our highlights to work. And that goes for anything reflective, whether that's a shimmer shadow. If there's no light in, it's got nothing to reflect off, so it's just going to look flat. So with this same brush, I'm going to take a little bit of In Blankets, and I'm just going to use this almost as like a little bit of blush. Smell for me. Just going to put it right into the apples of the cheeks. And this shade, it does need working into the skin, so use a little bit more pressure with it. And it really brings that pink shift out. And especially when you're taking your flash pictures, it's just like so pretty. And notice, guys, can you see how this area is still quite wet? That means that there's no powder on there at all. So my highlight is just going to stick to it straight away. And I'm going to get a full effect from that highlight. So now, probably the most traditional way that you apply highlight onto the cheekbones. This is probably the way that you guys are all most familiar with. And I can kind of understand why, because that's how I started applying highlight. But now that I've got a palette that's got so much variation to it, I've started really playing around with it and applying it everywhere else on the body as well. So coming to their cheekbones, I'm going to mix Lifestyle and a little bit of Babyliss. No, sorry, Lifestyle and a little bit of Made It. And just the mix of the two is just so pretty. I'm going to turn it right to the light. Really start to lightly apply that. I'm doing light amounts of product at a time. If you can see here where she's got a little bit of shine, I'm going to take the Lifestyle right here. So that glow can really just follow on in the face. I'm going to take a little bit of Lifestyle just here on the forehead as well. And because we've got that bronzer and Body Yada Yada next to it, it just blends in really easily. And probably one of my favourite places to apply highlighter is right above the brow, just here. It just means that when she's got her face straight on as well, you can still see a little bit of the glow. And it almost gives that wet look to the skin. Creating that wet look is all about placement. And these little places just to apply highlighter really takes it all the way there. I'm going to take it right at the side of the nose. Just at the top. Of course, on the tip of the nose, why not? This is just a little bit of lifestyle. I'm not going to take Made It on the chin because Made It is a little bit lighter, so I don't really want to make it look like she's got white dot on the chin. It's just not really the vibe we're going for today. Just lifestyle right there. She looks dripping. So again, coming back to your brush as well. So I think with highlight, there's 3 things that you need a good thing of. So brush, the actual product to highlight. So that's what I've got to about. And obviously lighting as well. So I'll talk you through the brush that I'm using. This is a really small, it's an eyeshadow brush, but it's got a flat edge to it. It's quite almost rectangular and it's quite dense as well. So it really just applies all the product to the face. Try and keep your brush quite small, but also quite dense at the same time. And it'll really just enhance it'll really just enhance your application of the highlight for the better. Oh yeah, so the way that I'm almost applying it to the face is, I see a lot of people doing almost like just a tap, almost just patting it on. But if you pat it on, you're not really working into the skin. Whereas what I like to do, I'll almost tap my brush onto the skin and then pull it. And what that's going to do, it'll just take the highlight and almost make it look a little bit more metallic because you're really pushing it into the skin. So it's almost like a tap and pull that I like to do. But I'm never just tapping. I think it can almost look like just a tap, but it's not a tap, it's a tap and pull. Again, I'm going to take this right at the top of the front of the nose. One thing when you're doing this bit, try not to take it all the way down the nose, or you're going to almost increase the width of your nose, and you don't want to do that. So just at the top. My favourite thing about seeing you guys use this palette is seeing like what shades you mix together. I think that's really cool, because sometimes it's shades that I've never mixed together. Someone mixed together In Blankets and the other day, and it created like a really cool purple. It was so cool. Right with that lip. Make her lips look even bigger. Again, I'm going to go back in with my bronzer brush and just really work it all together. Make sure it's nice and blended. I always like to just take my setting brush and really just take that one more time underneath the eyes just to make sure that's really mattified, because this is really, again, it's going to enhance the shine a lot more because you're going to have contrast between a matte under eye and then a really glowy cheekbone. So it's 2 different textures, which is really just going to make it pop even more. So I'm going to get a lip on her now, and I'm just going to take a purple lip because, again, I really want to show you how to use these highlights in every single way. So I'm going to take purple all over the lip, the same purple that we used on the eyes. And I don't know if she'll want to keep this on for this, but she'll probably take the lip off and swap it for a little bit of Ellie Kelly Boo or something. A secret. Because she's more of a nude kind of gal, aren't you? Mm-hmm. She hates me right now for doing this. But what do you expect from me? So yeah, this is a technique that I did in the shoot again, and I used it on Shay. She was one of the darker girls in the shoot. She's got the best skin ever. I was obsessed with doing her makeup. But we did like a dark blue lip and then put over the top. It was just so pretty. I'm going to take like a flat brush like this. This is really going to help us get precision at the Cupid's bow. And I'm going to take and it almost gives you like a glossy effect without gloss. This is probably one of my favourite ways to apply it. It's just so fun. And this, depending on what liquid lipstick you put underneath it, it looks different on everyone. And this is something that I did ages ago. I used to use like a black gel liner, and I'd used I can't remember what eyeshadow it was, but the fact that I get to do it now with my own product is like so exciting. And I'm also just keeping that on the centre of the lips, just to give a really pouty look. Right, so I'm going to just apply a lash, and of course it's a TL Mitchell, because why not? We've used everything else Mitchell today, so I might as well. So when you get a lash on, everything just comes together, comes to life, especially when you've got a bold lip on. I feel like you need a lash to really combat it. So while we're here, we might as well apply it all over our body as well, because we've basically applied it everywhere else. So I'm going to take a little bit of a spray. This is just a setting spray. And I'm just going to spray this all over her chest. This is going to give us a really nice sort of wet base to start with. Again, I keep coming back to using these almost over like a tacky base, just to enhance the application. So I'm going to take my hand and just tap this in, just so that it's not drenched. We never want it to be drenched. And then using our same bronzer brush, I'm going to use a little bit of Lifestyle. get this right onto the shoulders. And because we've got that setting spray underneath as well, it's just going to make sure it lasts really well. Because obviously on the face, when we've been applying it, it's got stuff underneath it to really secure it in. But sometimes on the body, if you don't want to apply loads of body makeup to it, a setting spray will really secure it without it fading away during the day. Especially if you're on holiday, when I feel like this is most of the time that you do this. When you're in the sun. Oh, so yeah, the other day, someone actually tagged me in them using body yaddy yaddy down the legs. And she was like, oh my god, I'm not even a makeup artist. I don't even know if I should be doing it like that. I was like, no, that's exactly what I want to hear. I want people to be using it in places that you wouldn't normally use it. She was like, I tagged her in my story and she was like, oh, did I do it wrong? I was like, oh no, this is exactly what you should be doing. Ooh. So, just to give a little bit more contrast, I'm going to take a little bit body yaddy yaddy. I'm going to put this underneath the collarbones, just to give it a little bit of like a shadow. And then, just to finish it off, I'm just going to take a little bit of spray all through the face as well. This is just going to melt all that highlight together. And that, guys, is Sub-Zero in every way possible. Probably even more ways you can use it. If there's anything that I've missed, please let me know. And maybe you can show us how to do that. But yeah. So we've got highlight on the eyes, we've got highlight on the face, to bronze her up, on the lips, on the body. I think we did a good job of this one.